Pollepel Island (PLPL) is a 6.5 acres (26,000 square meters) island in the Hudson River in New York. The principal feature on the island is Bannerman's Castle, an abandoned military surplus warehouse. Description: Pollepel Island has been called many different names, including Pollepel Island, Pollepel's Island, Bannerman's Island, and Bannerman's Island. The name Wikt, Pollepel, is a Dutch word meaning wooden ladle, but the Bannerman Castle Trust organization ascribes the name to a folk tale about a young girl named Pollepel having been stranded on the island. The island is about 50 miles, 80 kilometers, north of New York City and about 1,000 feet, 300 meters, from the Hudson River's eastern bank. It contains about 6.5 acres, 26,000 square meters, most of it rock. Early history: Pollepel Island was discovered during the first navigation of the Hudson River by early Dutch settlers in the province of New York, at the northern gate of the Hudson Highlands. During the Revolutionary War, patriots attempted to prevent the British from passing upriver by emplacing 106 chevaux de frise, upright logs tipped with iron points, between the island and Plum Point across the river. See Hudson River chains. Caissons from several chevaux de frise still rest at the river bottom. Still, these obstructions did not stop a British flotilla from burning Kingston in 1777. General George Washington later signed a plan to use the island as a military prison. However, there is no evidence that a prison was ever built there. Bannerman's Castle. Origin: Francis Bannerman vi. The castle's eponym, was born on March 24, 1851, in Dundee, Scotland, and emigrated to the United States with his parents in 1854. The family moved to Brooklyn in 1858 and began a military surplus business near the Brooklyn Navy Yard in 1865, purchasing surplus military equipment at the close of the American Civil War. In 1867, the business occupied a ship chandlery on Atlantic Avenue, engaged in the purchase of worn rope for papermaking. The store on the 500 block of Broadway opened in 1897 to outfit volunteers for the Spanish-American War. The business bought weapons directly from the Spanish government before it evacuated Cuba, and then purchased over 90% of the Spanish guns, ammunition, and equipment captured by the United States military and auctioned off by the United States government. Bannerman's illustrated mail-order catalog expanded to 300 pages, and became a reference for collectors of antique military equipment. Bannerman purchased the island in November 1900, for use as a storage facility for his growing surplus business, because his storeroom in New York City was not large enough to provide a safe location to store 30 million surplus munitions cartridges. In the spring of 1901 he began to build an arsenal on Pollepel. Bannerman designed the buildings himself and let the constructors interpret the designs on their own. Most of the building was devoted to the stores of army surplus, but Bannerman built another castle, in a smaller scale, on top of the island near the main structure as a residence, often using items from his surplus collection for decorative touches. The castle, clearly visible from the shore of the river, served as a giant advertisement for his business. On the side of the castle facing the western bank of the Hudson, Bannerman cast the legend "Bannerman's Island Arsenal" into the wall. Construction ceased at Bannerman's death in 1918. In August 1920, 200 tons of shells and powder exploded in an ancillary structure, destroying a portion of the complex. Bannerman's sales of military weapons to civilians declined during the early 20th century as a result of state and federal legislation. After the sinking of the ferry boat Pollepel, which had served the island in a storm in 1950, The arsenal and island were essentially left vacant. The island and buildings were bought by New York State in 1967, after the old military merchandise had been removed, and tours of the island were given in 1968. However, on August 8, 1969, fire devastated the arsenal, and the roofs and floors were destroyed. The island was placed off-limits to the public. Current status: the castle is currently the property of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation and is mostly in ruins. While the exterior walls still stand, all the internal floors and non-structural walls have since burned down. The island has been the victim of vandalism, trespass, neglect, and decay. Several old bulkheads and causeways that submerge at high tide present a serious navigational hazard. On-island guided hard hat tours were recently made available through the Bannerman's Castle Trust. The castle is easily visible to riders of the Metro-North Railroad Hudson Line and the Amtrak Empire service. One side of the castle, which carries the words Bannerman's Island Arsenal, is also visible to southbound riders. Sometime during the week before December 28, 2009, parts of the castle collapsed. Officials estimate 30 to 40% of the structure's front wall and about half of the east wall fell. The collapse was reported by a motorist and by officials on the Metro-North. On April 19, 2015, the island was the destination of a kayak trip taken by Angelica Graswald and her fiancé, Vincent Viafor. Viafor did not return, and Graswald was charged with his murder. On June 28, 2015, the public art piece Constellation by Beacon-based artist Melissa McGill debuted on and around the castle ruins. The work consists of 17 LEDs mounted on metal poles of varying heights, which when lighted for 2 hours each night are intended to create the appearance of a new constellation. In popular culture, in literature, dark fantasy author Caitlin R. Kiernan uses Bannerman's Castle and Pollepel Island as the setting for a number of the stories in her collection, Tales of Pain and Wonder, 2000, including Estate, The Last Child of Lir, and Salimbo. In these stories, the castle was constructed by a fictional industrialist named Silas Tisvernine and is referred to simply as Silas Castle. Bannerman Castle by authors Barbara Gottlock and Tom Johnson was released through Arcadia Press in August 2006. The book contains almost 200 vintage photographs, and the text documents the island's growth and decline. Proceeds from the book go to the Bannerman Castle Trust in its ongoing efforts to preserve and improve the island's structures. Pollepel Island is a murder scene in Linda Fairstein's murder mystery Killer Heat. Less than Fairstein, Linda, Killer Heat, Doubleday, 2008. Greater than, and the site of a series of abductions in Kirsten Miller's book Kiki Strike. Inside the Shadow City, in P̒lᵻťpɛl's The Day of the Djinn Warriors, 2004. Bannerman's Island appears in the itinerary of the Djinn twins. The castle is visited and described in depth in William Least Heat Moon's travelogue titled River Horse: A Voyage Across America. Bannerman's Castle, called the Hammer Armory here, was the site of clandestine human experimentation by the villainous Talia al Ghul and Dr. Creighton Kendall in issues number 145, published August 2008, and number 146. September 2008, of the defunct Nightwing ongoing series from DC Comics, in a story arc titled Freefall, written by Peter J. Tomasi, part of Lev Grossman's novel The Magicians, 2009, is set in a wizardry college in upstate New York, along the Hudson River. The school is an amalgam of Bannerman's Castle and Olana. In Jill Churchill's book Anything Goes, There is mention of Bannerman Castle, Pollepel Island throughout the story. It is a murder mystery set in early 1930s. In the first book of the Vampire Journal series, entitled Turned, by author Morgan Rice, the island of Pollepel is used as a vampire coven's territory and Bannerman's castle is the home and training grounds. Bannerman Island is the home of Roanoke Academy for the Sorcerous Arts in L. Jaggy Lamplighter's The Unexpected Enlightenment of Rachel Griffin. In music, indie rock band Shearwater used the island to illustrate its 2010 album, The Golden Archipelago, which referred to the Swiss painter Arnold Böcklin with his Isle of the Dead. Progressive rock band 3 recorded a music video for the song, All That Remains, from its album The End Is Begun on the Island. In movies, Bannerman Castle makes a 2-second appearance in the Michael Bay movie Transformers: Dark of the Moon as one of the sites, along with Angkor Wat and the skyscrapers of Hong Kong, of the pillars that transport Cybertron to Earth. The castle can also be seen in the movie Against the Current with Joseph Fiennes. In television, Bannerman Island is the secret location of George Washington's tomb, built by the Masons. In the fictional drama Sleepy Hollow on the Fox network, Bannerman Castle Trust, Bannerman Castle History on its New Jersey.com. Francis Bannerman Sons, Inc. Records at Hagley Museum and Library. Bannerman Family Papers at Hagley Museum and Library.